Good and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Harry.
And I'm Matthew. And behind us, this is it. It's the last ever production 5-cylinder Audi. It's the RS3.
Funnily enough, I don't remember unicorns coming in green. Either way, come in, let's have a look at this.
So the Audi A3 has been going since 1996 or around about then. But it wasn't until 2011 or 12 when the first generation RS3 came along. And at that time, this is now 12 or 13 years ago, you had a choice of 3 brightly colored 5-cylinder hot hatchbacks. But fast forward to today, only one of those brightly colored hot hatchbacks remains. This is a mid-cycle facelift, which means that the bones of the car remain relatively the same, but the bits and pieces that have changed are more to do with the exterior and the technology. With the exterior, so a couple of things that have changed includes the fascia here. So as you can see, the grille is now framed in all of these gloss black plastic pieces. And the thing that's really different is that Audi badge there, which rather than being 4 distinctive chrome rings, is now more blacked out and a lot flatter or 2D in its appearance. The grille itself is in typical RS fashion. You get this sort of trapezoidal kind of shape. It just looks big and pronounced. It gives you an idea that even though it doesn't say RS3 anywhere on here, this is not a regular A3. And the other key difference with this new mid-cycle facelift RS3 comes in the form of these headlights. Now, this car has the optional matrix LEDs, and a thing that really sets them apart are these DRLs. And as you can see in there, it's got this sort of checkered flag look to it. What Audi are trying to make a unique RS signature, essentially, and they look really cool once on. Moving around the side, you can see these wheels. So these are 19-inch RS wheels in the sort of matte finish. There are 3 options, and all of them are at no cost. So you basically go along and pick whichever one is your favorite. And in this case, I think these matte ones look really good with that Kyle Army green color. What you can't see so well is what these wheels are hiding, which are massive RS brakes there and give you all the stopping power you might need to bring something like this to a halt from speed. Looking further down the side, you can see what Audi have done to make it feel even more planted on the road and make it certainly look more planted. These widened arches, you've got the little vent in there, the strong lines coming across the door. It has all these bits and pieces that give it a really strong performance nod. But even still, it's all performance, all RS. But the badge on here does say Audi, and when you open and close the doors, you certainly get that reassuring tongue that tells you this is pure Vorsprung Dirk technique, and not to forget that little RS3 Sportback logo there as well. Just as with the front, the rear, this stance is just amazing. It sits so low but so comfortably on the road, and that's thanks to the fact that it takes inspiration from Audi's RS3 LMS, their race car. So they've made sure that the wheel arches are particularly pronounced. The car looks like it sits low and planted, and it does feel like that when you're behind the wheel as well, not just from the looks. At the rear, what they've done is changed a couple of things around. So you can see the badge again as sort of this gray black kind of color, which has become the signature with Audi's RS cars. You don't get the chrome option anymore. Similarly with the badge down there, as you can see, it's blacked out as it is for the newer RS cars. And what they've done is add a bit of spacing in between. So rather than having the red bar cross the RS logo as it used to, they've pushed that Audi Sport logo to the side, and then you've got the RS and the 3 there to really tell the people behind you what has just passed them. As if you needed a reminder that this is the RS, just take a look at that rear diffuser there, and of course the RS Sports exhaust, both of which hide 2 more pipes underneath. And when you have it in dynamic mode, as we'll show you later on, it really does open it up and let that 5-cylinder turbo breathe. And believe me, it does take some pretty big loud breaths. Opening up the boot lid, it is of course fully electronic, and inside there you have something like 300 or 282 liters of boot space, which is not massive, but the opening is pretty sizable. You haven't got much of a load lip there, and the seats, all 3 of them, can fold down individually for added practicality. Closing the boot lid, you have these new LED directional tail lights, and they do have directional indicators as well. That is an optional extra along with the directional LEDs at the front. But again, something that looks cool, and they do give you a little bit of a show when you approach and depart from the car as well. As Harry said in the intro, this thing is a unicorn, and that's not just because of its bright green, Kyalami green color rather, although that is pretty spectacular. It's because of what lies under the bonnet here. Count the red stripes with me. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's what allows Audi to command a price of $128,000 for this new RS3, at least here in New Zealand. And this engine is pretty special. So it's in its 2.5 litre configuration in this particular car, just like it has been with the RS3 historically. And they've maintained power at a similar level to the first, or rather this current generation when it first came out before this facelift. You get 294 kilowatts, 500 newton meters of torque, roughly about 400 horsepower is what that translates into. 0 to 100 comes up in 3.8 seconds, and the fuel efficiency is about 9.4 liters per 100 Ks. But in its defense, I have been getting something like 8.7 in my driving so far, which is not bad at all, I must say. Carbon emissions are in the early 200s, but again, with 5-cylinder cars, the less said about the carbon emissions, the better, probably. All of those things aside, it just sounds unlike anything else in its category, unlike anything else on the road. And what Audi have done, the magic that they've played into the new RS torque splitter, means that this thing is, at the moment, the compact performance car record holder around the Nürburgring. So it is seriously capable, even though they haven't actually upped the performance from this generation when it first came out. The other thing is, if you're talking about proper blue-blooded Audis, this is it. It's 5 cylinders. It has the quattro 4-wheel drive system. Classic Audi quattro, anybody? Anyway, they've not just worked their RS magic under the bonnet here, they've also done some trickery on the inside, and Harry's in there and he'll show you around that.
Well, Matt's clear, because this is an Audi after all, and one of the things that they have done quite well over the years is their RS trickery. And as you jump inside of the RS3, that becomes quite clear, at least from the point that they try to make this interior an RS-specific special place. Because yes, some of the things that you might see here are very A3-like, but if you start looking around very clearly, it becomes not only an S, but also an RS product. For starters, as I usually talk about, are the amazing seats. They are wing back, they have the RS logo embossed to them, and they have this motif that goes all around both the seat and the backrest. And this green stitching that we see here, even though it matches the exterior color, it is an option that you can get regardless of the color that you go for. But then as you deviate your view from those seats and then you start looking back at a few other elements inside of this car, you see that it does share and does keep many of the things that are from all the way in the beginning of the lineup with the A3. It is very clear that they reused as much as they could from the door cards in here, which makes some bits of it quite scratchy. The fact that you don't get lining inside of the quite generous door bins, and then of course many things that have to do with the dashboard. I still have a big gripe, and I know that I sound like a broken record at this point, with all the shiny black plastic that is used here in the center console. Yes, it does have good storage options with the 2 USB ports, the wireless charging, but the fact that all of this here just becomes a fingerprint magnet, it's not the best choice. They did some really cool things with the dashboard inlays, where they have this sort of faux carbon fiber inlet in here that I really like, and I just wish that we could get this in the center of the console as well. In terms of storage, yes, you do get the door bins in this cubby in here, but you also get a double cup holder and this ratcheting armrest that doubles as a little bit of storage as well. The materials are then elevated a little bit with this choice that we have here inside of the door card, with this really sort of a dynamic looking suede in here that is again lit at night in that beautiful green color. And the cool bit is that you can actually step up from this option just being on the doors and have it on the steering wheel as well, if that's a thing for you. But as Matt said, the steering wheel and the tech is where Audi really gets their trickery going. So come with me and let's have a look at that. So the tech view for the RS3 is, dare I say, refreshing, because even though you get a screen in front of the driver and one in the middle of the dashboard, they're not massive, they're not overwhelming, and they are, even though they are surrounded by the black plastic, they sort of work very cohesively with the rest of the interior. So the screen that you have here for the center console will of course centralize many of the things that you have to do with the media and what you want to customize for your driving experience. You get this view here, which is your home screen, where you will have shortcuts to specific things that you can set up, the navigation, and then a few things to do with the media and the phone projection, which of course is wireless as well. But if you flick between the different panes that you can create and customize, then you will go to specific options that will allow you to go deeper into the customization options for the car. This being an RS car, of course, we will focus on the ones that have to do a little bit more with the performance driving. So if we go to car settings, then this is where you will see two of the things that are really tailored for the RS experience while you're driving. The first one, in the Audi Drive Select, will allow you to go through the drive modes that you can also use the toggle down here to select, but also specialized settings that we will show a little bit more as we talk about the cluster. If we go back and then talk about the RS monitor, this is where you can see a real-time reading about key parts of the engine. You can talk about your coolant, your oil temperature, water temperature, and also, of course, how the torque splitter is doing all of its work back, because this is one of the parts of the trickery that Audi has introduced to the new RS3. If you then go back to the home screen, you will see here that you can keep going through all other options that you have. You can change themes, you can interact with Alexa, so you can do a little bit more of your voice commands through the car itself, and many of these things will then be replicated on your driving characteristics with your climate, your media, and everything. And in talking about the climate, can I just say that I really like the fact that they maintained most of the key things you will be using for the driving into not only physical buttons, but on ones that are really good to interact with. So for the heated seats, you can see how clicky they are. Even for the climate, it really does bring this tactile interaction that is really good to use without having to take your eyes off the road. And then, speaking about actually keeping your eyes on the road, we must cover the instrument cluster that you have in front of the driver, because the Audi virtual cockpit is actually larger than the screen that you have here in the center. And this view that I have here is specific to the efficiency driving mode that I am right now, and it is extremely familiar. It harks back to many Audi vehicles from the past, is super legible and a pleasure to use. You can change the view by using the button you have here so that you can bring more information about your drive. We can see here some of the figures that Matt has been doing around his drive, and then you can interact with more information being shown, or maybe a little bit more of a relaxed view by not showing all the information that would be shown in here. On the spoke, then on the right, you can interact with the things to do with your media. So going with the slidey thing for your volume, and then to move your tracks frontwards and backwards, same thing applies. Could be a little bit less of a fingerprint magnet and a little bit better to interact with. But then a big change happens when you do with these two buttons that we have here. They're completely new, and they are something that is specific to the RS products. The one on the left, if you press it, it will bring your RS performance driving mode, which can be customized for something a little bit more performance orientated and a little bit more sort of a balls to the wall kind of driving. The one on the right will then be your RS individual. And it is here much of the same, but of course it allows you to have two customized buttons that you can, at a click of one single button, enjoy all that 5-cylinder sound and all the things that the RS3 can do for you. So I think that it is about time that we actually click this button and take this for a short drive.
So let's talk about the RS3 as a car in general. It's now sitting in an area of the market which is probably not as busy as it's been before, with hot hatches dying out and sporty SUVs kind of taking on the baton there. The RS3 is one of the last select few hot hatchbacks. In fact, I'd probably say it's more like a hyper hatchback with the kind of power it's putting out right now. But still, the crux of this kind of car is, does it mix practicality with performance? Well, does it?
Well, it absolutely does if you look from the side of the practicality first, right? Because at the end of the day, it is mostly the size of any other compact but not so compact hatchback that you would see out there.
What this RS3 does is take the powertrain and the combination that's been essentially almost a recipe for success with all the RS3 generations gone by, to have that 5-cylinder turbo engine at the front and to have a quattro 4-wheel drive system. But it's not just the straight line power where the RS3 really wins, it's in the corners, because the way it just stays planted, it's so hard to unsettle this car and to make yourself as a driver feel scared, and to make the car feel scared as well, because it's just so planted. It grips and corners and does all this sort of stuff to make sure that your power gets down to the road with no slip, although you do have that mode as well to get a bit of slip if you want to. But that also does mean that you can turn it into dynamic, basically plant your foot on the brake and then load it up a little bit, and
the sound definitely is the best part of this whole experience, because we can get similar levels of performance from the competitors, but they're mostly using 4-cylinder turbocharged engines, right? The moment you have this one extra piston, it's crazy what it does for the sound. It becomes this warmer tone that fills the cabin and just harks back to the cars that you would see sideways on the gravel with the Sport Quattro and all the cars that really made the Quattro name so famous and such a staple of Audi's history.
And when you get to open up that RS Sport exhaust and then also enjoy this RS Sport suspension through the corners, it does feel pretty special. The way it picks up, the way it hugs the road is just amazing, and you can really throw it into corners like so, with a little bit of understeer of course mixed in because of that front engine combination, and it will just grip even here where the surface is slightly slippery. It's a spectacular, just spectacular powertrain.
Even the upshifts from the dual clutch are so purposeful and they're so quick. They help build this theater with everything that the engine can do for you. And as you just alluded to, Audis have been famous throughout their history for cars that understeer just after the limit, right? Because it comes down to the architecture and to the things that they have been doing over the years. So it's not a car that will bite you or do anything too crazy. Sometimes to the extent that they would be a little bit boring, right? And that's why in these new generations, the Audi products have tried to inject a little bit more engagement with the stuff that you can do with the rear diff, or maybe allowing for a little bit more oversteer, but all in a way that still make the car really confidence inspiring, and you can really see it through these bends.
As I said before, the RS Sport suspension, and something that Harry touched on as well, is, while it doesn't show amazing grip and feedback from the road and all of that, the downside of that is the ride is slightly stiffer on something like this, an open pore surface, and because it does lack some of those softer materials around the cabin, it does mean that you do get that road noise coming through and the sort of bumps and undulations and things. But again, you can easily quieten that out, all of those, the road noises out, with the Sonos 3D audio system by turning that up, or by dropping a couple of gears on your 5-cylinder turbo engine that you have access to and dialing that up.
Top tip.
So there you have it, the mid-cycle facelift Audi RS3. This 2025 model that we had was in the beautiful Kailami green color with this green stitched interior, and the last remaining 5-cylinder turbo car in the market. I mean, how special is that? What a thing this is.
Turns out that unicorns in fact do come in green, and just as we talk about it, the 5-cylinder comes to life. It is the centerpiece of this experience. There is no other way around it. We must celebrate the fact that this is the engine that Audi still decides to put on the RS3 despite all the other competitors moving to more run-of-the-mill 4-cylinder turbocharged engines. It really does make the experience. Is a sound that will never grow old. It harks back to all the history that made Audi famous with the quattro cars, and yeah, the price tag might be a little bit bittersweet, but the car's too sweet, so I actually do quite like it.
As the natural spiritual successor of the original quattro with this 4-wheel drive system and the 5-cylinder engine, yes, they've commanded a steep price tag for this car, undoubtedly. Would I have one? Absolutely. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. The link will be here somewhere, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya. One,
two, hello.
that is not great, is it?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4.
One extra clap for no reason.
I refrain from saying skid mark. Yeah, mate, just watch for the skid mark.
For context, I'm sitting on the tire if you're recording on
Yeah, sure.